European literature consists of literary works that are divided into different time periods. One of the countries under Europe is Germany, to which the information about history, people, language, and culture are catered.
One of the literary pieces in Germany is the novel entitled Siddhartha. It is about a man who has everything but still unsatisfied with his life. This novel primarily focuses on the teachings of Hinduism. So let's know more about Germany and its admired literary piece.
Before we proceed to our presentation, let's have our activity 1 first, titled One Peak in 10 Words. So, let's start!
This is a fun way to get students motivated. It's so easy. First, the facilitator will show pictures that are related to Germany. The students will be given 15 seconds to guess and fill in the missing letters from each given picture. Answer that on 1/4 sheet of paper. After the last item, papers should be in.
So let us now proceed to our presentation and we'll start with a brief history of Germany. The Celts are believed to have been the first inhabitants of Germany. They were followed by German tribes at the end of the 2nd century BC. German invasions destroyed the declining Roman Empire in the 4th and 5th centuries AD. One of the tribes, the Franks, attained supremacy in Western Europe under Charlemagne, who was crowned Holy Roman Emperor in 800. By the Treaty of Verdun, Charlemagne's lands east of the Rhine were ceded to the German Prince Louis. Additional territory acquired by the Treaty of Mersenne gave Germany approximately the area it maintained throughout the Middle Ages. For several centuries after Otto the Great was crowned king in 936, German rulers were also usually heads of the Holy Roman Empire. By the 14th century, the Holy Roman Empire was little more than a loose federation of the German princes who elected the Holy Roman Emperor. In 1438, Albert of Habsburg became emperor, and for the next several centuries, the Habsburg line ruled the Holy Roman Empire until its decline in 1806. Relations between state and church were changed by the Reformation, which began with Martin Luther's 95 Theses and came to a head in 1547, when Charles V scattered the forces of the Protestant League at Marburg. The Counter-Reformation followed. A dispute over the succession to the Bohemian throne brought on the 30 Years' War from 1618 to 1648, which devastated Germany and left the empire divided into hundreds of small principalities virtually independent of the emperor. Next is geography. Located in Central Europe, Germany is made up of the North German Plain, the Central German Uplands, and the Southern German Highlands. The Bavarian Plateau in the southwest averages 1,600 feet above sea level, but it reaches 9,721 feet in the Zugspitze Mountains, the highest point in the country. Germany's major rivers are the Danube, the Elbe, the Oder, and the Weser, and the Rhine. Germany is actually about the size of Montana.
Next is the people. Germans are a Germanic ethnic group native to Central Europe who share a common German ancestry, culture, and history, and speak the German language as their native language. The English term Germans has historically referred to the German-speaking population of the Holy Roman Empire since the late Middle Ages. Before the collapse of communism and the reunification of Germany in 1990, Germans constituted the largest divided nation in Europe by far. Ever since the outbreak of the Protestant Reformation within the Holy Roman Empire, German society has been characterized by a Catholic-Protestant divide.
Next is language. Today, people from countries with a German-speaking majority such as Austria, Switzerland, have developed their own national identity, and since the end of World War II have not referred to themselves as Germans in a modern context. The German term Deutsch originates from the Old High German word Jutis from Jut people, referring to the Germanic language of the people. It's not clear how commonly, if at all, the word was used as an ethnonym in Old High German. The native language of Germans is German, a West Germanic language related to and classified alongside English and Dutch, and sharing many similarities with the North Germanic and Scandinavian languages. Spoken by approximately 100 million native speakers, German is one of the world's major languages and the most widely spoken first language in the European Union. German has been replaced as the dominant language of science-related Nobel Prize laureates during the second half of the 20th century. It was a lingua franca in the Holy Roman Empire.
Next is the culture. Values. Germans place a high priority on structure, privacy, and punctuality. The German people embrace the values of thriftiness, hard work, and industriousness, and there's a great emphasis on making sure that the trains run on time. According to Passport to Trade 2.0, an online business etiquette guide by the University of Salford in Manchester, England, Germans are most comfortable when they can organize and compartmentalize their world into controllable units. Time, therefore, is managed carefully and calendars, schedules, and agendas must be respected. Germans are stoic people who strive for perfectionism and precision in all aspects of their lives. They do not admit faults, even jokingly, and rarely hand out compliments. At first, their attitude may seem unfriendly, but there is a keen sense of community and social conscience and desire to belong. Next is the religion of Germans. Christianity is the dominant religion, with 65 to 70% of the population identifying themselves as Christian. That number includes 24 million Catholics, according to CBS News. Muslims make up 3.7% of the population, according to Angelo State University, while 28.3% are unaffiliated or have a religion other than Christianity or Islam. Next is the German food and drink. Germans love rich, hearty cuisine, though each area of Germany has its own definition of what a traditional meal looks like. Pork is the most consumed meat according to German Food Guide. Schweinskäse, or braised pork hock, and Suomegen, or pork stomach, are a couple of traditional pork dishes. Bratwurst, a form of sausage, is closely associated with German food. Cabbage, beets, and turnips are commonly incorporated into meals as they are native to the region, and potatoes and sauerkraut are also stars of German cuisine. Beer is the most popular alcoholic beverage, and the country is known as the birthplace of a number of beer varieties, including Pilsner, Weizenbier, or wet beer, and Alt. These beers were crafted according to Reinheitsgebot, or the purity law, a 16th century Bavarian law that decreed that beer could not only be brewed from barley, hops, and water, according to NPR. Brewers used the yeast available in the air. Brandy and schnapps are also favorite German alcoholic beverages. Next is the German arts. Germans have made tremendous contributions to classical music and the traditions of famous German or Austrian composers such as Johann Sebastian Bach, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Ludwig van Beethoven, Johann Brahms, Richard Wagner, and Gustav Mahler live in today. With their penchant for precision and engineering, it is not surprising that Germans have a strong tradition of printmaking by woodcut and engraving. There is also strong representation of all phases of architecture, including Romanesque, Gothic, Classicist, Baroque, Rococo, and Renaissance, represented in cathedrals, castles, and public buildings. One well-known example of classic German art is the Brandenburg Gate, a former city gate that is now used to symbolize Berlin's unity.
Now let's come to the author of the literary piece entitled Siddhartha. One of the best authors in German literature is Hermann Hesse, a German-Swiss poet, novelist, and painter. He was born on July 2, 1877 in the Black Forest town of Württemberg, Germany. His parents are Marie Gendert and Johannes Hesse. He died on August 1962 due to cerebral hemorrhage in his sleep and was buried in the cemetery at San Abbondio in Montagnola. In 1946, he received the Nobel Prize in Literature. His best-known works include Steppenwolf, Siddhartha, and the Glass Bead Game, also known as Magister Ludi, which explore an individual's search for spirituality outside society. In his time, Hesse was a popular, influential author in the German-speaking world. Worldwide fame only came later. His first great novel, Peter Kamenzind, was received enthusiastically by young Germans desiring a different and more natural way of life at the time of great economic and technological progress in the country.
Next is about Siddhartha. Siddhartha is a 1922 novel by Hermann Hesse that deals with the spiritual journey of self-discovery of a man named Siddhartha during the time of the Gautama Buddha. The book, his ninth novel, was written in German in a simple lyrical style. It was published in the US in 1951 and became influential during 1960s. He has dedicated the first part of it to Roman Roland and the second to Wilhelm Gunbert, his cousin. Siddhartha is often considered the high point of his art and fiction, as well as the pinnacle of his fascination with Orientalism. The novella is concerned with the individual's search for truth and identity by means of what he termed the Weg nach innen, or inward journey, a recurring theme throughout his works. In fact, Siddhartha was written after a difficult period of introspection in years old.
The summary of the literary piece, Siddhartha. Siddhartha, don't call him Sid, he hates that. Grows up in a prosperous Brahmin family. He's well loved, but unhappy despite his popularity. He is spiritually dissatisfied and believes the elders in his community have nothing more to teach him. Siddhartha decides to join the Samanas, who are a group of wandering ascetics. His best friend Govinda accompanies him, and the two men spend 3 years with the Samanas, learning how to withstand pain and hunger in an effort to flee the baddest limitation.
Although the two friends learn quite a bit from the Samana way of life, they are still dissatisfied and decide to hear the teachings of Gautama Buddha. Govinda is impressed and chooses to join Gautama's community of monks. Despite Govinda's urgings and despite recognizing Gautama as the holiest man ever, Siddhartha opts not to follow Gautama. He decides instead that he is an independent learner and is done with doctrine. The friends part ways.
Siddhartha travels to a nearby town where he is entranced by the beauty of a well-known courtesan named Kamala. He offers himself to her as a student in the art of love, but is gently rebuffed. Kamala says he needs money, clothes, and shoes. Siddhartha begins working for a wealthy merchant named Kamaswami and becomes Kamala's lover. For a time, Siddhartha is content with his life and is able to maintain a samana-like distance from material concerns. Eventually, however, wealth and lust prove too much for Siddhartha. He develops anxiety, self-hatred, and a high-stakes gambling habit. One morning, overwhelmed by his own depression and troubling dreams, Siddhartha walks out of his fancy home and never returns.
After considering suicide and briefly encountering his old friend Govinda, Siddhartha finds a ferryman and asks to become his apprentice. The ferryman named Vasudeva accepts Siddhartha as his companion, and together the two men listen to the river. With the river as a spiritual guide, Siddhartha gradually grows wiser and wiser. After allowing his son, by Kamala, to leave the river and follow his own path, Siddhartha achieves enlightenment. Vasudeva passes into nirvana, and the Siddhartha continues to ferry people across the river. He then helps Govinda reach enlightenment.
Let's proceed to our activity 3 language exercises. So, let's start. Here's the instruction. The facilitator will give jumbled words based on the literary piece. Then the students will be given 10 seconds to guess the right words. Write your answers on a 1/4 sheet of paper.
Let's proceed to our activity 4, which is
Literary analysis. Answer the following guide questions on a 1 whole sheet of paper. After 15 minutes, paper should be in.
Number 1. Why is Siddhartha unhappy or dissatisfied in chapter 1?
Number 2. Explain why Siddhartha decides not to follow Gautama, even though he believes his teachings are wise.
Question number 3. Give the theme and the symbols that you found from the literary piece and describe it.
Number 4. What is the relationship between love and enlightenment? Is love a necessary component of wisdom?
Lastly, what is the significance of the literary piece Siddhartha in Germany?
That's all, guys!